the testimony. I fell hard, but I'm not gone. Grace found me before the dawn. Pulled me up from down below, set me on my feet, said, "Child, let's go." From the darkness, now I see love has won the victory. If you're listening, lean on me. This is my testimony. This is the testimony. The testimony.
Hi, Tyler. I love you. I'm so proud of you. I miss you. Hope you're doing great. Happy Thanksgiving.
Today's special guest is somebody it's near to my heart. We've tried a bunch of different ways to bring this platform to life, and a lot of the times we always say we got to pray about something before we do it. It's hard to ask those people. It's hard to ask the people that have been through something to share their story, and that's what we're trying to bring light to. I don't want to mention too much until you hear his last name, because you'll kind of know who he is, but it's somebody that I got to see as a kid, and I got to hear about their recovery process. I got to hear about their addiction, but I never got to see it. And that's some of the stigma that we don't like about recovery, is that we have people that talk about addiction, and we have people that talk about the way they climbed out of these places, but they never talk about the way they changed their life in the end. It's always about the story that kind of turned them into the person they are at the time, and we're trying to show the people that they can be. Not the people that they are, but the people that they can be, with just a little bit of faith and a little bit of determination. So everybody, I have somebody very, very special, really close to my heart, really close to the family. He actually is a member of the Lloyd family, which is surprising, because this is a story about a family who got to see different sides of addiction, different sides of the family, but we all fell into the same boat, if that makes any sense. We had the same rock to our family. Our granddad was kind of like the heel. Whenever it came down to time for Thanksgiving and stuff, we always got to see each other then, but apart from that, he lived on a different side of the state. So the guest we have today is Mr. Tyler Lloyd, somebody that has, in my opinion, changed a lot of lives without even thinking about it. So for one that he has changed, it's been me. I've got to watch addiction ruin a lot of our family, and I lost hope myself in our family. And then I don't know what it's been happening over the past few years, but it seems like God has done a big number on the Lloyds. And it's actually a big blessing, not just to me, but to the many people that can hear it. I never really expected to have the opportunity to get to hear y'all's story, other than hearing it from other people in the family, just because where we're all at. And it's nice. I feel like it opened a lot of people's eyes to see that hearing about somebody's story from somebody else never does it justice. Sure. It makes no sense to hear my story come from somebody else without actually asking me the serious parts of it and what turned me into the person I am today. Because my opinion of you means nothing without hearing it from you.
Yeah.
So Tyler, man, why do you think I decided to interview you? Of all of our family, of all the people closest to us, why do you think I chose you?
I think there's a truth to my past that was, very visual for my family to see. Lots of heartbreak, and I think, over the past few years, just as they've seen that, I've made it so that my recovery can be the forefront of my life. There's a truth of me losing my family, either by me pushing them away myself, or actually them having to distance themselves from me because of my addiction. And so that's what I hope it is. I hope it's that I'm showing in a positive light what my life is like now, so that I can, rekindle all those relationships with my family.
In our family, we hear a lot of stories told about the Lloyds. We hear a lot of stories told about our family, and a lot of us, I don't want to say we're stuck in the same county, but a lot of us still sit in Mississippi County, and it's not a great place. But as a kid who got to see a few of the family members, not a lot, but a few of them move off, for the kids, we always saw that as them just turning better for themselves. As an adult, I've learned that regardless of what goes on in the family, where you put yourself in life, you can still struggle just as much as the next person. I've heard a lot about our family. I've heard a lot about the past. I've heard a lot about the past that's been near me, but I've heard a lot about the past about people that have not been near me too. And the problem with that is I don't get to hear it from you.
Definitely.
I've heard it from other people. And I love our family. Since Papa passed away, we've been kind of at a stalemate. I don't think we've had a single Thanksgiving where we got together. And that's why I full-fledged believe there's no such thing as a coincidence. Everything happens for a reason. We talked about trying to set this up about a month ago, and then everything fell into place. And we're here on Thanksgiving, which
Definitely.
Perfect setting for the way everything's going to be played out. But it's nice, man. I feel like it's going to be a blessing to a lot of other people who get to see something that is dealt with in a lot of families, something that's talked about in a lot of families, but something that's never explained from the person that's actually dealing with it.
Definitely.
And that's the side of it that I want people to see. So little story about Tyler is that we grew up and I only knew him from events, Thanksgivings. I'd hear about him from stories of like his sister was she lived near us. My sister was around the same age, so we got to hear stories about that. But we never got to. I've never got to hear it from Tyler, and it kind of bothers me. You can hear a lot of stories from a lot of people, and you could turn the slightest story into something that it's completely not.
Yeah.
And that's what scares me is because if you have somebody coming out of addiction and you're trying to do better for yourself, and I'm telling stories about you that are not exactly aligned with the way you lived your life, not only does it make you look bad, it makes me look bad, it makes the family look bad, but it gives the wrong light to what's really going on.
Yeah.
And that's what scares me.
Yeah.
It scares me. It's different. So I want to give the people a perspective of recovery on the side of family, a side of family that didn't get to see it firsthand, a side of the family that where we're at, we're still dealing with it directly. You distance yourself from a lot of that, and I didn't know how you were able to change your life.
Yeah.
Because I always saw it as you moved away and everything changed immediately, which that's what it seems like, but you never really know the full story.
Definitely.
Who were you as a kid?
I was a farm kid. The way I felt like I was a farm kid. I was, the grandson of a fisherman, the grandson of a preacher. Both of my grandparents, my grandmothers, my grandma and my mama Joyce, they both were teachers' aides as a kid. Mom and dad, mom's a nurse. Dad worked for a chemical company. We lived in rural Arkansas. Phillips County, Arkansas, which is about 2 hours south of Mississippi County. I was a happy kid. Life was good. Loved to fish. Loved to ride my four-wheeler. Wasn't the best at school. I went, but I'd rather be outside playing. I had a very structured life because of my grandparents. Mom and dad were always nearby, but we always were given that extra obedience lesson by my grandparents. So it's Mama Joyce and Pepball came, we got a different talking to than we did with Mom and Dad. My Grandma Rose and Pepball Rose, they, same thing. They were more the loving type, it seemed like to me growing up, because they were right there. Mm-hmm. They were a protector for me, always. My mom and dad, they definitely loved each other, but as an adult, I seemed to to grasp on as a child to the bad times. So they did fight sometimes, and so the grandparents was always that refuge for me. Mama Joyce and them were always the ones that came down and laid down the law.
Man.
And I'm very thankful for all that. I have some great memories from my childhood. Just the feeling of my childhood is a great thing because of my grandparents. I love my dad very much. We didn't always see eye to eye on things. My dad dealt with addiction. My mom dealt with addiction. Different times, different things. So there was an aspect of when they divorced, it kind of took me away from my dad's addiction in a way. I felt like I had escaped it because I was living with my mom. I was living with my mom's parents right after the divorce, but I got to spend more time with my mom. Right. And so, I moved in. I was able to move in with her, but she had just recently started, an addiction. It's I don't think Mom would mind me talking about it. It was methamphetamines, and so
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I never knew that about your mom. I always just thought it was Uncle Chip.
No.
She,
I've talked to her. She had her reasons. She was looking for an escape. Her and Dad, like it was a not a good relationship. Like what they had, there was a lots of fighting. There was lots of abuse. It's when you get trapped in something, I can understand wholeheartedly because of my life, wanting an escape.
Right.
And being from rural Arkansas, there's the escapes that you see nearby, or at least in my life, I think in your life, they are usually drugs and alcohol. Still to this day, though, I don't ask for anything to change. None of my past would I have asked for it to change. Everything happened for a reason. My dad was a loving dad. He loved us. He absolutely did. And I can see that now. There is I understand addiction now. It's just because someone's going through addiction doesn't mean that they don't love. And so now I can understand how hard it was for him. I was raised in church, and there was always a routine that I can witness. Dad would mess up. Dad would get saved. Dad would go to church. Things were great. Mom and Joyce Pebble came down and laid down the law.
Man.
But it's that truth of addiction without treatment or a program, which I understand now, you fall right back into it. And I understand it now because I did it so many times as an adult. So I think I've learned more about my childhood today than I did growing up in it. There was a lot of resentments, hates that I had against people that now I've came to understand what they were going through. Childhood was great though, like it was. I don't think I would change anything about it.
So I never actually got to hear about a lot of this. I never got to hear about a lot of the things that went on in y'all's family. Like I never knew about your mom, and again, that's why I want people to see this. It gives a different perspective because with me, I just assumed when you moved in with your mom to
South Arkansas, south of Memphis.
Whenever y'all moved a little bit of ways, the way we seen it, especially me, I saw it as you were just away from the ones that we thought were addicts. I thought you had got away from the addiction. I thought you had kind of distanced yourself. I didn't know that about your mom.
Yeah. So yeah,
That's
I definitely I never got away from addiction. Addiction was I don't think in my childhood that addiction was the word I used. I knew on both sides of my families, I had aunts and uncles who were, a preacher. I have an aunt who, my mom's oldest sister, like she's everything godly, I think. I said I was gonna cry.
You're fine, brother.
I think of her as the most godly thing, that is in that side of the family. She's like the hierarchy. But I had aunts and uncles on both sides that were in active addiction. I had parents on both sides that were in active addiction. I never escaped it. There was never an escape from it. I loved my stepdad to death. Like, my stepdad treated my mom, just better. I never had to have a worry of him hitting my mom, of him hurting my mom. And for me as a kid, that was a huge, like, I'm a mama's boy. I am a mama's boy. That was always a fear I had. But my stepdad was an alcoholic. My mom was an addict. She had, and that relationship in the beginning of it was addiction. But there's also love, like there was, and that's something I carry now, and I think it's because of all this. I can love an addict. I can love someone who's in active addiction. I can distance myself from them and still love them. And I think lots of that is because of, my childhood. So we moved to Whitehall with my stepdad. I kind of got like a bonus family. There's just all these new people from my stepdad's side of the family. But that's when I think my mom had a sense of freedom, that she had never had being away from my dad. And addiction took over. So I watched the relationship, end at one point because of it. And I remember going to church camp. Raised in the church. I was raised in a Church of God on both sides of my family. My mom and dad met at Church of God.
Hey.
In Helena. So that's, I think there was a revival happening. That was, so I always trusted, I grew up trusting in God. I trusting in the Holy Spirit, trusting these things. I didn't understand it. I was the kid that, Mama Joyce was telling me to sit down and shut up, because like if someone's speaking in tongues, I'm like, just curious, curious. But there's some powerful women and men. I think I always watch the women, powerful women in the churches. I know Sister Sylvia in Elaine Church of God, the Helena Church of God. There's so many. If I don't want to start saying names, because I would probably get their names wrong. At the Helena Church, there was this. She had white hair, like an angel, like an older lady. But I grew up watching them. I'm talking about they would lay hands on people, it just was, that was our life. We were raised in that. Now, I had never experienced any of that. We had kids' church, and we got to bring a quarter there. We got a kids' church to get us a sucker when we came into regular church, so that we would sit there and shut up. That was,
Man.
But I got to watch all these things, and I think my love of music and stuff came from the Church of God. But I went to church camp, and mom was going through it, and they did the call to the altar, and I went up and I prayed and I spoke in tongues, and and I think I embellished it. I think I embellished it a little bit, but I was crying out to God, or to anyone that could hear me, that I needed help. I was, this new life I had with my mom and my stepdad, they were great, but I see it deteriorating. I see it falling apart. God answers. I came home. I went home to Grandma Rose and them, and she tells me that my mom is going through withdrawals pretty much, in a camper in Mena, Arkansas, outside of Mena, Arkansas. My stepdad quit drinking. My mom, I don't know her sober date, but at this point it's like 25 years. And that's that truth of faith I have that I've held on through my addiction.
I'll say this, because I don't know if I could leave this in or not. I don't want to make you cry.
No, you're good.
Whenever Daddy passed away, the first thing Uncle Chip did come to us was, I feel like I've left everybody behind. I got to start trying to be a father now.
Yeah.
And I was like, because that didn't just come to me. He wasn't just saying that about me.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was because I felt like he had distanced himself from Tanner and you and Tiffany.
Yeah.
And that was more of him like opening up, like, man, I feel like I waited too long to try to help our family.
Yeah.
And that was different. So like I've heard nothing but good stories about Grandma Rose. Like Tanner, that is, I don't know if he will say it or not, but that is his rock.
Oh yeah. She was, I don't know how to explain it. Like there was two different rocks in our family.
Mm-hmm.
Like there is. Mama Joyce's, it's like food to me. Like this doesn't taste like this, but they're both great.
Yep.
Like that's the only way I know how to explain it. And I will say, and I'll clarify, my dad had wonderful times. My dad was he was a wonderful coach, even though I really did not like sports. He wanted me to play. I like baseball. He wanted me to play football. He tried. Like he was their coach.
You didn't want to play football?
He showed up. That was not my thing. And Dad was an athlete. Like that was. I think my two favorite. I liked baseball. I was not good at hitting, but I was good in the field. I liked basketball. I was not good at it. Like I had a different. I think I got it from I got it my mom's side a little bit. I like to fish. I like to play outside, but I did not like contact sports.
I think that's just our side. We like chaos.
No, I think that's from the Rose side of it. My grandma Rose. I don't want you hitting me. Like I don't want to hit you. I don't want you hitting me. But the Lloyds, my Peppa, like that was they. Like and there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with it. I've watched you play. I've watched your nephew play. I've watched my brother play. I like watching all my nieces and nephews play, but I don't want to do it. Like
it's not for me.
I also don't want to work out because I don't want that pain the next day. It's just.
I wish more people would hear that. You don't have to be 1,000 pounds and strong all the time.
I just don't. I don't. But Dad was a good dad. Dad was a bad drunk. Dad was like the alcohol changed him into something else. Pretty much every time. Like I remember us. Dad loved to grill, and everything is great. We're like it's a family. We're having a family, but by the end of the night, it's gonna get. There's words are gonna get crossed. I'm not gonna say my mom was a saint in it. Once he gets to a certain point, but you don't want to deal with it. You don't want to deal with it, and you try to cater to it because you know what it's going to turn into and what it can turn into, and unfortunately most of the time it does turn into it because once Dad hit a certain point, it wasn't Dad anymore. Like it wasn't that man that I seen trying so hard, like the man I seen trying in the church, the man I seen he tried with us, but there's a whole trust aspect of it that I had. Like I just didn't trust it anymore because it had happened so many times. It was hard for me to ever trust him.
So it's kind of like when I know back in the day, I don't know if kids still do it because I never see kids outside anymore, but back in the day we would light fireworks with a cigarette or something and the fuse goes into the firework but it doesn't set off. To me that's what it felt like.
Yeah.
So like you never know what's going to happen.
Exactly.
You cross that point and then it just seems like you're walking on thin ice. No matter what's going on, you just feel like something is going to blow up and just change the way the whole mood of the room is.
Yeah.
And that's scary, man. Like I've only seen Uncle Chip in those places a few times.
Yeah.
And when he would crawl back out of those, I would see this motivation and determination that he wanted to be something.
Definitely.
But we don't have support on our end. So with
Yeah.
him, it was, I'd see him get up, work as hard as he could to become a teacher, and then he'd get home from class and then drink all night.
Yeah.
And it's like, he knew what was hurting him.
Yeah.
He knew what was causing the downfall. It's just, had we had the support that we know about now,
Yes.
it would have been a different reality.
But I mean, it would have totally been a different reality. You know, like in him going to school, you know, it's not like I missed all of that. I purposely did, you know, like that. I tried to stay away from him. There was a lot of pent up anger at him, you know, like that. Mama Joyce and Papa, you know, my other grandparents, like he had a choice. He made that choice. But I know now, you know, and I don't know if it would have changed our relationship then, like if I knew what I knew now, like then. But he didn't. There wasn't really a choice, you know, until you treat the root cause. I mean, with actual treatment of some sort, you know, whether it be, I mean, I'm a full believer in the power of God and, you know, the salvation of Jesus. But for me, that wasn't enough, you know, and I see for him that wasn't enough. Like you had to add in other things to it for it to work. And there are people out there who, you know, the church is the light, the truth, and the way, and it works for them. And I'm glad now that we can talk about, and I hope people that can understand that just because the church is not the light, truth, and the way for everyone, does not mean that they're less worthy.
Exactly.
You know, they're more worthy of it. I like we're supposed to go outside of the church. You know, salvation is not in the walls. And in the walls of the church should be salvation, but like you're not doing the work of Jesus unless we get out of the walls. And I see it around me all the time. You know, I see it in what you're doing. I see it in what your church is doing. Something Papa Lloyd talked about all the time. You know, he wanted to take that church van out to every neighborhood and bring in everyone. He didn't care what they looked like, what they talked like, what the truth was. He thought he had the truth and he thought he had the message, you know, to bring people to Jesus. And in my recovery, I'm not trying to take anyone to Jesus. I'm trying to take them out of addiction. And once you're out of addiction, and once you're free from the chemicals, from the alcohol, I mean, there's a golden street straight to the church. You know, if that's what they choose to do. I don't want to run anyone away by saying, you know, like God's the only way. Well, we have treatments that we can get you to, so that you have an honest relationship with God. I think that's key for lots of people. It's not for everyone, because for me, I had church. Church got me recovery. Lots of the younger generations, you know, they didn't have the upbringing that we have. You know, church in Mississippi County and in Phillips County or in small town Arkansas is different than what kids have in these big cities. You know, we have these issues of addiction everywhere. We do. It's hard to, like Papa would preach, you know, that salvation is the answer. It's hard to preach that to city kids. Whose parents never took them to church, whose grandparents were not preachers. You know, I think like we have a blessing in what we have because of our faith, like because we were given that. No matter what we've seen with our dads, our family, our siblings, we have that. It's ingrained in us. You know, we know the truth of what we know our truth.
Right.
I'm not going to say that that's everyone's truth. I know my belief.
And that kind of plays into. I kind of mentioned it a little bit last week. I will do a lesson over it one day. I just got to find a time when we're not filming a testimony, because these stories are what matters. But for somebody like me and my wife, we're in the church. We teach kids ministry, and 100% what he's saying is exact. So when we were kids, we had me and my sister. Shout out to Mr. Nathan and Miss Dawn. They were our first kids ministry teachers at Papa's church. But it was just me and my sister.
Yeah.
So what they're reading to us and what they're instilling in us is, it's directly told to us. It's not told to a ton of other kids. Whereas now we teach at a church that has 150 kids on Wednesday with about 40 adults coming on Wednesday.
That's
so it's
amazing.
the parents dropping them off.
Yeah.
They're not coming. They're just dropping the kids off, whether it's for free time, or whether they want to instill the church into their kid.
Yeah.
They're not instilling it into themselves.
Yeah.
And for us, we get to see the kids who come in and ask for prayer for their parents because they're dealing with something.
Yeah.
But their parents aren't the ones coming in and asking for prayer themselves.
That's right.
So it's why I wanted to ask you so much about your past, because I'd only heard about pieces, but it's free will. So everybody that feels like you're dealing with something, if you feel like God has punished you, if you feel like God is doing all this to you, if you feel like God's just tearing your family apart, God doesn't do bad to people. God give everybody the chance to have free will. We're made in His image. So we all have the choice to make any decisions we want. And that's the thing that gets me, is because whether were hurt by somebody else, whether you have dealt with abuse from somebody else, all that stems from a decision they made. And it's a matter of where you stand your ground and say, hey, I want to get better myself. I'm tired of dealing with my life now. I want to take that step forward. That all boils down to you. It talks about that in Genesis. It gives Adam the ability to choose to eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and he knew what he was not supposed to do. That's our decision to make the choice. Had God not given us free will, life would be as amazing as everybody would assume it would be going to church. But I promise you, you step into the church, you step into faith, if you step into recovery, it does not get easier from that first step.
No, not at all.
That first step is probably the hardest step to take. Like, that is the hardest step. It was the hardest step for me, and to see other people take that step and know that when they take that step, they're not stepping into something good.
Yeah.
They're stepping into something that can better them, but when will it better them? They're not worried about the when. They're worried about the can. Can it help me? How can I help myself? So with somebody like you who dealt with the abuse of not just the abuse on yourself from hearing it taken out on your mom, but taking it out on your hearing your dad take it out on your mom, or hearing the little things of your mom coming out of addiction and stuff, you took the decision I don't want to be around this. I'm going to distance myself from it. And that's kind of where my memories of you, they leave off. Yeah. So from that point of you moving away, I'd only heard stories. I never got to hear your story. So after your childhood and after you grew into who you would call yourself at the time, the person that you knew yourself to be. Like in high school, I thought I was a thug. I thought I was banging. I thought I was the coolest thing on the planet. And in reality, I just had a really high ego. Yeah. And it took me to become an adult. And it took other people it took God to humble me a lot for me to realize that I am no better than the next person. Yeah. And that's what brings the light to this. There's not a single person on here. Like last week, y'all heard Bryce Mitchell's story, a UFC fighter who is somebody that stands in a professional setting fighting around hundreds of thousands of people, fighting on a screen for millions of people to watch. And then I get to have somebody like you who, at the time when you were in high school, maybe you felt like you were a nobody. I know I for sure did. Our family, we deal with the woe is me a lot. And that was something that dwells on not just our family, but I see it in a lot of these kids that come into the church. Yeah. But that's what this platform's for. It doesn't matter who or how big the person was last week. You are just as big as Bryce Mitchell's stage ever was. Absolutely. Whether this platform reaches 50 people or 50,000, it does not matter. You are just as important, if not more important in your own standard than him. Yeah. Because to me, I feel like I'm the most important person on the planet behind my wife. Let me say that before she gets the dagger out. But in all reality, I can only hold myself to a certain standard that I can hold myself to. I know I can read the Word, I can study the Bible, and I can try to live my life that way, but it's about how I carry myself forward. So whenever you were coming out of high school and you decided to take that step on your own faith into, I want to try something new, did that get better from you from the beginning? How did that happen? What exactly happened when you moved away?
No. Coming out of high school, I had no plans, no set goals for college, for the future. High school was great though. We had moved over to a little small town called Hatfield. Small class, completely different culture shock. I come from, the southeast Arkansas, where, sharecropping, slavery, all these things are the truth of it. I went to public school. There was like 3 or 4 white people in the class. I was a minority. I had moved around from Helena to Elaine so much back and forth. We'd gone back and forth, I think maybe 3 times. Like I mean, I knew my class in Elaine, and if you're asking me, like, if I think about school in Phillips County, it's my Elaine class. Helen was just different. I never was there long enough to have a feeling of of class. Like they're not my people. Like, they're not. I wasn't raised with them. My mom was the nurse, and Grandma was a teacher aide down at Elaine, and I still I'm thankfully I'm Facebook friends with them, but I didn't graduate with them. I just that ended when I was in 6th grade, and so moved to Whitehall. I fit in pretty good. Big school though compared to what I've been to. My beginning and end classes were 30 people. Man. So I didn't really fit in there, but we made it over to Hatfield, and I'm talking about just this adorable little town. We lived right by the school. 30 people. They received me like family. We ended up consolidating. The schools consolidated, so we grew to like a class of 45, 50. Still small. Made great friends. It was a complete shock there because I don't know the difference. I mean, it's amazing what 5 hours can do. Just completely different demographic. Mm-hmm. And I'm not. It was a culture shock. It was an absolute culture shock. But it worked. Mom was a nurse. Stepdad worked in construction. It became a community with everyone there. It was great. It was great. Everyone there in my class though, like all the guys went into the military. This was not the Iraq War was still going on. It was 2005 when everyone's taking the ASVAB or taking the test to see where they would place in the military. I took it, but I was like, I don't like contact sports.
Don't enlist me, guys.
I mean,
I am missing both feet.
And I don't know why there was a lot of truth about me being a mama's boy. I still a protector of my mom. Like I felt like that, and the way my life went, I completely distanced myself from my family. Still talk to them, but I mean, I moved off. But so after high school, I never drank in high school. I'm lying. I drank in high school. I did a little bit. Never smoked weed, which was the other thing. Like never, drugs were bad. Like I seen it firsthand.
Did they have the DARE program and stuff whenever you were in school?
Oh, DARE was, oh Lord, the memory of DARE. DARE happened in Elaine, the Elaine Elementary. So I think like the health department had some kind of, very low income school. So the health department actually had an office at the schools to make sure that all the kids are getting the necessary, like the dental teeth. Hey. It was some kind of program. But the lady who was over that, they had DARE come. I'm talking about they brought us up to look at a box. And I remember it. I mean, the box has all the drugs in it. And they even asked and said, if you see these drugs at your house, you need to tell your teachers. And I'm like, well,
make the list.
I've seen those. But I absolutely was not going to tell my family. Like that was, I don't know. DARE is weird to me. Like, you dare me to what? Because I want to do like 3 of those things in that box before I find recovery. Like,
well, I look at it different. Like you bring this, I think it was a lion, wasn't a lion they brought in for DARE? You bring in this lion, this mascot and all this, and you're, in a sense, you're not celebrating addiction, but you're opening these kids' eyes to addiction that they probably never knew what was going on in the first place.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know. There was so much going on in life, like with my aunts and my dad and my mom and, and my grandparents and stuff. Like, when they asked me that question, or when they talked about that, I'm like, well, I'm not gonna make this any worse. I'm never like, I love my family. I love all my family. I do. Doesn't mean I can be in the same room with my dad when he's like that. Mm-hmm. DARE was weird. I don't know. DARE. It literally, it put a face to what people were actually using at home. my dad always smoked weed. Like my dad always smoked weed, and so I always knew weed wasn't the problem. Like, I mean, weed was not the problem. It was alcohol. That's what the problem was. I mean, he might consider it a problem because he's spending tons of money on that drug. But as far as like someone who's having to deal with rage and stuff, weed was never the problem. But my grandma Rose, she would come down. He's smoking that dope again.
I think that's every old person's perspective on it. Like, I look at, like with my parents, I called it maintain. They would smoke, they would do drugs. Like my mom was a meth addict, and she would stay. I mean, I would assume high all the time because she still functioned like a normal person.
Yeah.
She'd cook, she'd eat. Like you hear about meth heads losing their teeth, she still has all her teeth. Like it's those things that turn my thoughts about addiction completely around.
Yeah.
Like you assume you hear about an addict, and a lot of times they end up homeless or they're on the street or they deal with all these struggles that they've walked into, but they affect everybody different.
Well, it's just like with alcohol. I'm an addict. I'm an alcoholic. It changes my mindset. That doesn't mean that the person sitting at the bar right now downstairs is an addict. They can control it. Their mind is different. The genetic makeup that they have, for whatever reason, like I will not drink a glass of wine, even though Jesus turned it from water to wine, because it changes something in me and it causes me to go out and do other things like that. So, I mean, I suppose, I don't know the science of it, but I suppose people who can maintain with marijuana, it's just like with alcohol. Abstinence has been key for me. Like abstinence has, but I don't have a medical condition where marijuana can help. I don't know anything about that. I know that, there's a truth to California sober. There is people who swear by it, and if that's going to keep people from overdosing on fentanyl, absolutely, do it. Like, I'm wholeheartedly, like, we talk about bringing people to Jesus for salvation. Well, let's keep people living.
So when did life start to get heavier for you?
17. I was rebellious. Wanted to live the life I wanted to live. So I left home. I lived in Mina with some friends for a little bit. Quickly, I mean, it was probably about 6 months, 7 months, I moved to Little Rock. And life was good, don't get me wrong, life was good, but it was heavy because I was completely on my own, financially. I didn't graduate, so like there was no college plan. There was no plan. Like there was absolutely no plan. Luckily, I found my community. I started working in a wine and beer bar as a bar back. That's where my food and beverage, truly food and beverage started for me at Sonic in Mina. But at that point I was 18, 19 when I started working there, and I had life was good. Like life was good, but the burden of life, like the burden of adulthood, started immediately. I started drinking underage. I'll say I was managing. I don't think I wasn't a full-blown addict at that point. I was addicted to going out and going to the club. I was addicted to having fun. I definitely was not addicted to paying my bills. Like that was not. I don't know how I made it looking back. Like I got this really nice apartment. I paid like the first 2 or 3 months. Somehow I kept the apartment for another year. And weird story. I never got evicted. Like there was never an eviction. I never got because I was low income. Considered low income. I was. There was some kind of subsidy. So something worked. But eventually, I moved to Memphis. I met someone in Memphis. Started dating, And so I moved there, and I think really with addiction, it started there pretty quick. Life was good. I still felt like I was progressing in life. I was, at that point, I'm serving in a restaurant, which was cool, making amazing money. Made awesome friends in the workplace, which is, that's usually how it happens. Is you have your family at home, and then you have your work. Well, my family at work, they did drugs, and I think alcohol started becoming a problem because it was, we were drinking every night. Thankfully, I didn't have that genetic deposition of my dad where I fought, which that's a lie. I did do that. I did. Like, it would get me to a part of anger where, with my relationship, there was fighting. And I can sit and say that now. Cocaine became a huge part of it on a nightly basis. So there was I was maintaining life. My relationship, there was income there, so bills were being paid. I was making all this money, but all of it went to drugs and alcohol. Probably not so much alcohol because we just drink at work. Now being a food and beverage manager, I can think of all the harm I did to that business. And when I say there's regret there, every shot of liquor here, at my job today, there's a profit. And I didn't understand any of that. I didn't care to understand any of that. There's part of working in the AA program of Alcoholics Anonymous is admitting your faults in life. It's weird because I've already admitted those faults in life with my sponsor, but you have to keep going back and doing a fourth and fifth step. And it's just being honest about things. Just us talking like this just brought that up. It's just being honest about where your faults were in life. I lived there for about 4 years. Same thing every night. Same thing. But it still seemed like we were growing in life. We were young. So we decided we were going to move to Pittsburgh, and we had about a year of planning. It was either going to be between a few cities. I knew it was about to move. Addiction had already started. I had there was a guy there that he liked pain pills. The guy that I'd buy weed from, had told me that he can get brand new bottles of pain pills. I'm talking about literally, I guess what you'd send to the pharmacy, but they were expired. So he started selling them to me for $300 for 100, which I'm still so young. I'm just willing and dealing, making life work, and having the time of my life, I thought. And I'm not gonna lie and say I'd be lying and saying that I didn't have fun. I didn't have fun. Drugs and alcohol are bad because of what can happen, because of what has happened in my life. But these were great times. But looking back now, that started a whole thing. I could stop drinking without withdrawals. I could stop doing cocaine. I might hurt for a few days, just feel tired. The pain pills, I started getting them from him because that started compensating for all the money I was spending over here. So now, because we're getting ready to move to Pittsburgh, now I'm making money, or I'm not necessarily making money, but I'm not spending my own money. Now I guess I'm a little dealer. I never thought of myself like that. It was because it was just for a few people. But I started taking the pain pills. And man, quickly, pain pills, I'm an addict. I liked it all. Pain pills was a demon for me. And so finally it's time to move. I moved to Pittsburgh Thanksgiving weekend of 2009. Today, literally, this crazy thing about today would be the day that we arrived in Pittsburgh and unloaded the truck. I had, just going to, I know we're talking lots about drugs right now. I don't want anyone to think that I'm glorifying the drug. In no way. There's no glory in it. There's not. It's what happens in the end is not worth it ever beginning. I had like 60 pills with me, and I was going to make a change. Like this was going to be it. I was going to wean myself off these things. Bought a house. Like life was about to begin. It was time to grow up. Over the next like week and a half, I learned quickly you cannot wean yourself off of these. There's no, for me, I don't know about for others, for me, there was no weaning them off. I think the anxiety of me knowing that I don't know anybody here, I took more. I took them faster. We had gone out to a bar and my ex smoked weed, and so quickly we had to find more weed. I don't know why. Like it was, I guess I like to help people. I've always liked to help people, but for someone else, like absolutely, we'll get this for you. Then to me, at that point in time, weed was just weed. Like it wasn't dope, like my grandma would call it, or dope. It was just weed, and so. Made a friend, a really good friend. I'm talking about a lifelong friend. Still, I don't think we communicate much anymore, but we're Facebook friends. We're gonna drop a hey, how are you doing in the inbox every once in a while. So we at the bar met this person. Well, I went through withdrawals. I convinced everyone that I had the flu. Because if you've ever been addicted to pain medication, or if you haven't been addicted to pain medication, you've had to take it for a long period of time, I would say, I've seen people who've taken it for, 2 weeks, and when they stop taking it, they feel bad. Well, if you've been taking it for 2 or 3 years, not as the doctor would have prescribed, 5, 6, 7 a day, it makes you go, it's flu-like symptoms. So you can easily say you have the case of the flu. I stopped, and it was like, I know a term now is called white knuckling. I wasn't doing it. I was going to work. I got a job for Fairmont Hotels and Resorts, an amazing hotel, and I still wanted it. Now I started drinking again more. I remember the first night that I ran out of the pain pills in Pittsburgh. I went to the gas station to get some beer because I was like, I needed something. You can't buy beer at the gas station in Pennsylvania. Their laws are bad. So what happened is they gave me 2 options. The gas station attendant, they said, you can either go to the bar across the street and tell them you want a 6-pack, or you can go down to the distributor and you can buy your cases. So where did I go? To the distributor. Because why would I do that? I need to have extra at the house now. So, anyways, there was a few, I would say the first year and a half, I was managing again. Life was good. The Facebook posts were great. Everyone's seeing me progress in life. I've got this new job. And then my insurance kicked in. And now, being an addict, I am a master manipulator. It's something I have. It's not a good thing. It's especially now, because people have seen it. I don't know if they've ever friends on Facebook, family, they've seen me manipulate. So I've done this for so many years because I was an addict, I'm still an addict. I was in active addiction for about the same amount of time in my life that I was not in active addiction, my childhood. So, that trust you have to gain back. But I went to the doctor and, not realizing at this point I'm a master manipulator, I got this man to write me a prescription for 90 pain pills and 90 Xanax. I convinced this doctor, he was 80 years old, that I had Crohn's disease, and he would send me to all these specialists, And the specialist would be like, you don't have Crohn's disease. But I go back to the doctor thinking he's about to cut me off. And this man would just, well, you have Crohn's, you know? So he just kept doing it. Well, those 90, just like those 60 when I first got to Pittsburgh, this is years later, those 90, it got to a point where I could take those in a week. I mean, the Tylenol they add, the acetaminophen they add to them, is supposed to make you sick. It does make you sick, but you still cannot stop. Like, that's how addicted I was to them. I didn't go to church anymore. I had my beliefs. I would listen to my music. I mean, me and some Southern gospel. You know, they say that, you know, you can have church when there's 2 or more people. I don't know. You put me in a room with some worship music, and I'm pretty sure God can see me. Like, you know, it's, I mean, but I know what the Word says. I know what the Bible says because my grandparents they said it all the time. So, man, that started. I think that's where it all began to me. That's where addiction took over my life.
Because that would be, so would that be the place where you said, would that be the place where you felt like you crossed the line?
Oh, definitely.
Where it went from being I can maintain this and handle my life while dealing with this to now it's controlling who I am.
Oh, absolutely. Controlling every aspect of my life. Lying to family, lying to friends, lying to work, just lying. And not that I wanted to. I was to a point of I couldn't stop. I couldn't function. And I couldn't be honest with people because I was terrified. And because I was away from my family, the people who know me, who've known me my whole life, there was no one to check me. There was no one to say, this isn't looking right. There was no Mama Joyce and Peppa to come down and scream at me and say, we see you. We know what you're doing. I built myself, I put myself in this box, you know, that every night, I mean, going to bed, I knew I had to wake up in the morning, run down and find a hidden pill to function. I don't know how I hid it for so long. I hid it for years. I mean, I hid all of that for years. The cocaine, the pain pills. When the doctor started prescribing them, it was, you know, the relationship I was in, like there was an understanding, well, you need these. But what was hidden was me going and buying Oxycontins off the street. And they were so prevalent. I mean, I could buy this person's whole script. I'm talking about the amount of money, But and then there was so much joy every time I would get them because I could be normal for a little bit. But it wasn't normal. There was nothing normal about it. Oh, I forget the name of the town in Pennsylvania. I got in the car. I hit my rock bottom. She was not going to get, I was able to usually make it last to where I could call off work just a few days during the month. But it was out. My tolerance level came to the point where what I was about to get was not going to be enough for me to, and I knew I was about to hit withdrawals in a way that I had never hit them before. Fentanyl had just recently came out as in fentanyl patches. I put a fentanyl patch on myself. I was taking so many Oxycontins that it didn't do anything. Like I was going through withdrawals. And when I say I was actively addicted, I'm taking 8 to 10, 30 milligrams a day, every day, just to get through the day. You know, I don't know how I didn't die because I've seen so many people die for less. And never did I feel like I was going to die, so I know God had a purpose for me. For something, there was no Narcan around like that. At no point in time do I think I ever came close to dying. That was a scary part of it, but I had built my tolerance up to a point where my body was like, okay, you know,
I can handle this.
Okay. So then I made the call to my mom, and I told her, I think I pulled over on the road, and I told her I needed help. I never asked for help. My partner was a drug and alcohol therapist. I reached out to my mother-in-law, told her, like people, and I thought it was going to be. Everyone's accepting the truth now. Everyone knows. I've convinced them that this was mainly the doctor. They don't know about this other stuff. Again, in the program I work now, honesty is key. Being honest about everything, holding on to those burdens only make the addiction worse. I went through an outpatient detox, and I thought I was going to die. There was no Suboxone or Suboxone. I didn't want any of that. I really wanted to stop. I wanted to be normal. I think this was 2 weeks of going every day. They give you stuff for like restless leg syndrome to bring your blood pressure down. They do your vitals. I mean, I had to crawl to get there. I think it was on day 3 or 4. I'm calling my mom every day. I mean, I'm just bawling. I mean, just feeling like death. If I can say, I hope death is never bad.
Man.
I hope I die of my old age and smiling and,
Peace.
I do. But this felt, this was what death was to me. And I felt like that's what I deserved at that point. But I call my mom, and she's like, I'm donating to K-Love. You just have to listen to K-Love. Just have to listen to K-Love. That's all she needed to do. I mean, I'm calling screaming, I don't know. And at that point, if I had had a way, I would have relapsed immediately. I didn't have a way. I was stuck in this house, and I remember crawling up the stairs on the 3rd day and taking a bath and being happy about it. That was an awful. I hate to say it, but in addiction, that was the worst part of it, because my addiction blossomed into something totally different. And the withdrawals were not as bad, but the psychosis and all that stuff, it was just bad in a different way. So that's why when we talk about drugs and alcohol, for me, it's complete abstinence, because for me, one thing's going to lead to another. I have to be honest with my doctor when I go in. I go in now, and hi, I'm an addict. Now let's talk about what I'm experiencing. I'm gonna fast track a little bit. Stopped doing pain pills. My awesome job I had at the hotel, I was still not feeling 100%. So what do? I go to the bar and take a shot during my shift. I was fired for that. Lost that job, but I've built my experience up now at workplace. I'm working at the places, for food and beverage. I did it in Memphis. I did it there. I love food. That's something that we probably didn't touch on in much earlier. My grandparents cooked. My grandparents fought about whose recipes are the best. Food is culture to me, and I love it. I got hired on as a manager of a place. I found someone who would sell Adderall, the weed dealer, because at this point, my person I'm in a relationship with is still smoking weed. The weed dealer offers me Adderall. This is it. I can control this. I couldn't control it. Lost my relationship. We had moved back to Arkansas because the Adderall put me into psychosis. The psychosis just made me go crazy. There was a part where the cops got called. I had blockaded myself in the room, thinking that the FBI, I'm in psychosis. The FBI is the only people who can help me. I've had my mom on the phone all day, thinking that people were out to get me. Complete psychotic. My partner, being a drug and alcohol therapist, knew that it was mental. At this point, it was mental, but it was caused by prescription drugs. Not prescription drugs. It was caused by the Adderall. I got committed. Again, master manipulator. They could not keep me. Like I somehow talked the little lawyer guy I had, and I was like, this is crazy. Not me, this. Like, I'm here. I was let out within 24 hours without ever getting any kind of treatment. When I went to the outpatient detox, they tried to get me to go to AA, or they AA or NA is what they suggested. Of course, I wish I could have went then because my life would have changed, but I hadn't hit my rock bottom yet. I wasn't ready. They said that, just be careful because you can get these pain pills there. There will be people there trying to sell to you. I'm not going there. I don't need it though. I don't need it. Well, anyways, the Adderall happened after that. Moved back to Arkansas. I mean, relationship was so rocky. It was still happening for about another year. Psychosis has started taking over. I got a prescription for the Adderall. It just quickly spiraled out of control to the point where I moved back home with my grandma and my mom. I helped take care of my grandma for a little bit. Unfortunately, pain pills became a truth again. The doctor gave me pain pills. My grandma would give me pain pills. That's when I love my grandma to death. My grandma would hand out a pain pill.
Man.
and my family members, there's people who were like, it was never really spoken about in the open, but just like doctors, and I'm not trying to say that my grandma was right or wrong, but back in that day, if you went to the doctor and you said, I'm hurting, I don't feel good, here's a script of pain pills. Grandma would do that, and she meant nothing bad about it. She was not an addict. Grandma was not an addict. So she had medicine, but she didn't abuse the medicine. But here's a Xanax, baby. And I think I know that's how addiction starts in so many people's lives throughout our country. It's, it's the most innocent truth to it. I'm not saying that's what started my addiction, because it's not. But, it's something that I think now there's more knowledge. I'm totally for the war on drugs that we're having. Meth became my vice. Methamphetamines became my vice. My grandma died during right as COVID was getting started. Master manipulator me. I had already quit my job in Memphis, but I was able to use that job and not having it anymore as means to get unemployment during COVID. I started smoking meth with an aunt in Helena. Started getting the money. I felt trapped down there because I've lived in big cities at this point. So I went to Memphis. In Memphis, it became bad. I lived in hotels. I smoked meth. I did shady things. I stole. I lied. I cheated. It took me to a point of demons around me. It is a demonic drug. Looking back, I know, whatever you want to say, it was psychosis. But there are demons in this world. If there are drugs that can take me to there, they're not out there for everyone to see. And in our faith, the Church of God, or just preach that they're out there.
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere. It's preached that they're out there. Man, I don't want to talk about that too much. It was because it was completely psychosis. There was no good in life anymore. It was drugs, sex, and illegal activity. And it's not. I was stealing from Walmart. I was doing all these things. It wasn't good. It wasn't good. I became homeless. I reached out to a friend and I told him everything. A friend from high school, and I moved with him. I didn't do it anymore. I stopped.
So Tyler, man, traveling through life, you've traveled a lot during this time. you maybe felt like you were running from things. You maybe felt like you were running towards something. But a lot of people see it as, I'm stuck. Never that you're running towards or running away, but that you're stuck. I can't get out of this place. For somebody like you, you've crawled out of that place where you felt like you were stuck, and in a sense, you just kept moving. So what it looks like to me is, after that, you ended up at the turning point. So the point that you've seen, your life can be better than what you've lived it. Whether all the fun you had in the past, you know there's a better Tyler in there. People think recovery starts the day you quit your addiction, or the day you quit, or the day you stop having to deal with what you're recovering from, what you're in recovery for.
I think recovery began when I went through the outpatient detox. If I'm being honest about it, because that's when I got the first insight of I guess programs that are out there. Mm-hmm. I didn't think about it much, or I didn't think about it at all as recovery. I just didn't know how to get help. I think recovery starts for anyone that moment where you have the inkling that you want to stop. Anytime I wanted to stop, I wanted to recover. Now, I didn't know recovery then as I know recovery now. When it really got serious was when I joined my church here in Mobile. That was the time I moved down to Mississippi. I can glorify all the drugs and alcohol, because even just talking about drugs and alcohol and then my past, to me, it glorifies it a little bit. Just speaking it into existence. And I don't want that. That's not, with any of those things I've said, life was never good during those times. My life could have been so much better without the drugs and alcohol. Recovery started the day I went to MCC Church. Again, I'd stopped what was the problem for me in that moment, which was meth. I was still smoking weed. Pain pills had became a thing again. But I started to build a relationship with God again. Going to church every Sunday, singing in the choir. God started working in my life in ways that, he hadn't the past 12, 13, 14 years, because I hadn't been in the church hearing the message. I hadn't been around the people who have, the love of Jesus in their heart, who just care for others. So I ended up going to jail. I relapsed on meth, and I relapsed hard. I mean, as in it happened, and 3 days later I was in jail. So luckily, thankfully, I spent 2 months in jail. Those 2 months were awful. I knew when I came out, I didn't have a place to go. My family obviously is not going to, accept that jail is going to change me. That's not. But what did change me was my pastor. There's the little video things that you can have in jail, so you can see, it's almost like you're meeting someone. My pastor, had scheduled an appointment, and we talked. She prayed with me, but she also started talking about places that I can go after. I mean, my mom said it. I think if the pastor said it, other than this, I don't know what we can do for you, and that's the truth. I have. No one wants someone who's going to be stealing or lying to them living with them. No one wants that, and that's family, friends. They can love you all they want, and I wholeheartedly understand that. But she came with resources. So when I got out, I ended up staying with the choir leader, and I stayed there for about 2 weeks. I went to this place every day. It's called Door to Serenity. And she used to be a member of the church, or she's a member of the church. So she didn't have any beds. Like there was no beds. So there was a bed that was going to be coming open, but like it's unfortunately people have the idea of recovery, yet something that addiction in you, that evil part of it pulls you back out in the world of drugs and alcohol. So she made me come every day. So I went and seen her every day for like 2 or 3 days. And then she took me to an AA meeting. And so we pull up to this house, it looks like a house. And we're sitting there and she says, "Are you willing to give up everything you thought?" First of all, she asked me what my relationship was with God, what I believed. So, I told her, and I'm still in a little bit of psychosis, probably lots of psychosis. Something I learned from her, throughout my recovery in Door to Serenity is the scientific part of it is for someone who's been addicted to methamphetamines, it takes your brain 2 years to truly start to recover, to truly start to get out of the psychosis, to completely. I mean, I heard voices, I heard God, I heard Jesus, I heard all these things, and I know for beyond a shadow of a doubt that 99.9% of that stuff I heard was the effects of methamphetamines. It was not what I thought it to be. So I can't tell you what my answer was then, but the Pentecostal in me was like, well, I want to say, no one's going to tell me what kind of relationship I'm supposed to have, and be smart with her and think that I know more. But no, the truth of desperation was with me. Absolutely. I'm willing to give up everything I thought I knew. And it felt so wrong saying that. It did, but it felt so good saying that. Like, I mean, I don't think that God would have approved of the way my life had been going. So what if I just throw them away for a few minutes and see what happens? And that's what I felt like I was doing. If I have to build a whole new relationship with them, I feel like I'm giving up all of my beliefs since I was a kid. But that's not what that was. It really wasn't. It was to have an open mind. So I went in and, again, the first thing I'm thinking of is, well, I'm a meth addict. I'm not. Alcohol's not. It's a problem, but it's not my problem. It's I haven't been drinking. I've been doing this, and I quickly, I learned through, communicating with her, gaining a sponsor. Once I got the sponsor, I explained that to him, and so we sit down, and every time in the big book, again, another weird part, I will say that. They asked me if I have a big book. This was my first day. And I'm like, yeah, I have a big book. Well, I don't think I have one, but and I even said it, I have a Bible. Like, that's the big book. And they're like, no, that's not it. That's not what we're talking about. So there's a big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and what it is it gives the story of Bill W., who is the founder of it. The book is actually based off of, it's similar to the book of Genesis. So there is some religious aspects to it. I got my big book. My sponsor and we started reading it. They tell you to read the first 182 pages. That's the key parts of it. Anything after that is stories, which are good. We read through it. There's 12 steps, but every time the word alcohol came up, we would change it. So now in my life, when I talk to people, when I tell them about AA, when I think alcohol to me means pills, means meth, means cocaine. It means, and for me, it means weed, because for me, weed leads to other things. It means all those mind-altering substances. There are a few different programs. There's NA, there's AA, there's CA, there's DA, there's SA. Like there are, but they're all not copied, but they're all similar to the book of AA. AA started, they themed this works. It talks about in the book, early in the years of AA, more than 100 men and women have, recovered from a seamlessly hopeless state of mind. And I started to recover. I started to truly recover by going to the meetings every day. It took me a while to get my actual sponsor I have, who's still my sponsor today, who is a social worker for the DA, and for the district attorney. Like it's addictions everywhere. Sometimes when you go into AA, that act of desperation, they say, get a sponsor, you need a sponsor. Well, the sponsors aren't always the best for you, but you got to keep trying. But I kept going, I kept sharing, I kept listening. And, it was probably 3 to 6 months in when I stopped having cravings. I stopped wanting the drug, and I started to understand that my life could be better. Now, those first days those were difficult. Like those first 30 days, you get a chip for 24 hours. You get a chip for 30, 60, 90. Some of them do all 12 chips, but they jump around. But man, when you got that 30-day chip, and you've learned a little bit about recovery, and you see these people, they call them old timers, but it wasn't the people who had been in there for 30 years that really was speaking to me. It was the person who's been there for 6 months, who's telling the same stories that I just went through. The same addictions that I just went through. Well, then I hit 6 months. And I didn't think about it then, but just now, now I'm that 6-monther who there's the people coming in behind. Because unfortunately, fortunately, the doors of AA are always open. Unfortunately, the line is always there. There's always a new person coming in, whether it be court ordered, whether it be on their own. Probably say the first is I stayed with Door to Serenity for about 6 months to 9 months. It was very intense. I'm talking about she tracked us on our phones. She wanted to know everywhere we were at. It was great for me. That was great for me. Now Mobile, this recovery, I moved to Mobile, and let me say that, when I was still living in Mississippi when I went to jail. My church helped me get to Mobile. So all I know here is recovery. So they tell you that you have to change people, places, and things. Well, done. And so I will say that, that's a blessing for me that all I know in Mobile is recovery. Now, just like they said to me in Pittsburgh, I've witnessed it. If I wanted to get drugs and alcohol, sometimes it does show up at the doorsteps. Someone had offered me something one time. She was court ordered there. But man, it felt so good. Just like, no, I'm good. And I left it at that. I didn't tell anyone else about it. I think I told Lisa Taggart, who's over at Door to Serenity. I think I did tell her. They're doing amazing work. They've expanded since I left there. I worked the 12 steps, and the 12th step of AA is you can only keep what you have by giving back to others. So not only do I keep what I have though, but I keep growing. I keep gaining so much. It's selfless, but it's so rewarding. So I moved into an Oxford house. Didn't know much about it. Had a friend, had a peer specialist. So there's peer here in Mobile, which is amazing. It's people engaged in recovery. They are support systems for people who are in active addiction and they need treatment. They need to find help immediately. You can call a peer, and they will get you get you to where you need to go. They'll pick you up and they will drive you hours away to treatment if needed. So I was talking with someone from peer, and they told me about an Oxford house.
So tell me a little bit about Oxford House. You mentioned it, but what was it like walking in those doors for the first time?
So for me, walking in, a little bit different than other people. So I came from a place, came from Door to Serenity. I had spoke with the outreach worker for the area. They had already chosen the house. They already had members that were, or a member that was moving into the house. So with Oxford House, they're always expanding. They're finding homes in the nicest of neighborhoods, in neighborhoods where you would never suspect that the neighbors next to you is an Oxford House. The reason they do that is because people are more likely to succeed if they're going into people, places, and things, if they're changing those things in their lives. So for me, I moved in. There was no furniture. Like the day I moved, it was the day we went shopping, and it wasn't glamorous. We didn't go to Ashley's. We went to thrift stores. We went to Mission of Hope thrift store. There's a certain amount of funding that is loaned to a house to a new house through contracts with the state, so that it makes it possible. Also, the funding for houses can come through donations from other houses, which is part of it, and it was part of it for us. So spent the day going to lots of thrift stores, lots of different Oxford houses, meeting lots of people, and then immediately hitting the ground. So for an Oxford house, it's democratically ran. There's no overseer. We don't have a house mom or house dad. Everyone who lives in an Oxford house has a problem with drugs or alcohol, or drugs and alcohol. Our common denominator is our recovery. At first I was nervous. Of course I'm nervous. But the model they have, it works, and it quickly starts working for someone who's new in recovery. Everyone holds a democratic office. Like there's a secretary, there's a treasurer, there's a president. We have meetings once a week. There's a quorum. So it's teaching you how to manage your lives, how to manage. Addicts are not known for their bank accounts, for their managing of their books. It's not. That's not. So there's stipulations to an Oxford house. Each Oxford house being democratic, you can make rules specifically for your house, and we have done that at my house. We mandate meetings. For all Oxford houses, when someone new comes in, you're mandated to go to 5 meetings a week. We're trying to get you into the recovery community. To get you, you have to have a sponsor. You have no choice. The things that Door to Serenity did for me, now I'm doing for others. These are mandates for that. You have to pay your fair share of your rent, and you're living in a house that you couldn't afford by yourself. But for me, it's brothers. We work for the common good of the house, but also for our recovery. I've gained a sense of family living in Oxford House, a sense of community. Lots of places, whether it be faith-based or rehabs, for long-term rehab, the longest term rehab you can usually go to is a year program. So what Oxford House does is it brings in members, and as long as you're willing to grow within recovery, as long as you're willing to help out the new person, then you can stay as long as you want. I don't have to worry about being kicked out of a program in a year. If I was kicked out after 6 months to a year, where would I go? I'm going to go to what I know. So it gives you a truth in knowing something new. I've lived at Oxford House now for 2 years. There's no plans for me to leave. I've thought about it. I have the resources to do it now. I could do it, but why? I'm not starting a family. I've gained a family. My recovery is the most important thing in my life. I have the opportunity of you being here because of my recovery. It's not because of me being your cousin. It's because of my recovery. I'm not done recovering, which I never will be. I'm still new to it. I've got 3 years. I've got 37 months
Let's go.
of sobriety. And that's, and I love saying that. I've got 37 months of 0 drugs and alcohol.
You're amazing, brother.
From beginning to end. There's no prescribed medications. There's no illegal medications. And that's a blessing. And I've never experienced this, that I've never had this opportunity. I'm able to work that 12th step. I'm able to give back to the newcomer. Earlier today, there's someone I work with who's going through really bad situation with her husband. They had separated. She didn't know what to do. She's wanting to help, and that's the worst situation to be in. And so I explained to her, like, this is what you have to do. This is the place, because I have the resources now. I know the resources. This is where he has to go. Well, she called me and she told me, she thought that, God had moved her down to Mobile specifically so that she could meet me, because they've dealt with addiction their whole life. They've never had recovery. He is now in long-term treatment. He just went in this morning, so he'll be there for up to a year. That gives her time to heal, and that gives him time to learn what recovery is. I think that's a problem that we do have, that Oxford House is helping. They're worldwide. I'd be lying if I told you how many houses it is, but it's either close to 4,000 or over 4,000. It's in every city. Well, I mean, it's not in every city. It is in every state that they are contracted with. They were written into the Housing and Opportunity Bill in Congress. It's all about the word. It's all about spreading the word. I hope this podcast can open people's eyes to what recovery needs to be. It's not something that you can fix in your house. It's not. There's programs, there's churches, there's treatments, and I want everyone to, I beg everyone to be open-minded to what treatment looks like to people. I do not take any kind of medication, but people can get Suboxone, which is MAT. That is recovery. If people are recovering from a hopeless state of mind and they're gaining hope again, that is recovery. If Suboxone is going to help people to not overdose, that is recovery. And Oxford House allows people to come in and take that medication. There's Vivitrol, which is a shot for people who can't stop drinking. It lessens the withdrawals. That is recovery. We've let pharmaceutical companies, and just the lack of knowledge, I'm not trying to blame a pharmaceutical company, the lack of knowledge of something, we've let that take over our society. Not all of us, but it's taken over a huge population of our society. So we need to be open-minded that they can fix it in ways. Some people are against that stuff. Absolutely not. If it's going to keep you from overdosing, great. Narcan. I don't care if you've never been around addiction in your life. I suggest you get Narcan. On a faith aspect of it, because I've seen and heard people who have said the worst thing ever. That they deserve to die. No one deserves to die. And if you can be that person to save a life, why not be? We should all want to be a miracle worker. Jesus was a miracle worker. I've never had to actually give it to someone, but I've had someone who lives in my house, because overdose happens. Overdose happens within Oxford House. Overdose happens within a rehab. Overdose happens on your streets. Overdose happens in your church. My church has Narcan. It's a guy, he overdosed in the room of our house. It's one time it did happen. It took 5 different Narcans to bring him back to life. But that's a testimony. It's amazing to me that we are fighting the war on drugs, because there is an absolute war on drugs. And we're doing good. My worry, personally, from what I see in recovery, my worry is that we're fighting the war on drugs so fast that we're surpassing the addict. And for small towns, for churches, for people who are just doing anything they can to help, we need Congress, we need our state legislators, we need them to step up, and we need them to give resources for addicts. Because if we're taking the drugs off the street, we're putting people into detox. If we're putting people into detox, it's not that they want to, but they will lie, steal, cheat, anything they can to try to get that fix, because no one wants to feel like that. I've felt like that before. So this is what Oxford House has done. on a global level for me and for 30,000 others, if not more. It's bringing awareness so that we can spread the message. And I think that's key in my recovery. Recovery's given me a purpose. It's like, for me, I walked the road I've walked to get here, and this is where God's saying, this is for you. And I'm so thankful for that. We can heal the sick. We can heal the sick. Like that's, Jesus talks about healing the sick. It's right now it's more than just laying hands on people. The resources are there. We just have to get them spread out, and awareness is key. Like if you're, if you've never heard of recovery or ever heard of addiction, or it's never touched you, but you're still a voting citizen of the United States, I want to make you aware of it so that you can vote, so that you can talk to your senator, your congressman, your leaders, local, state, federal. It's helping. It is helping.
It makes you reflect. It's the one question that I look at to kind of guide myself now, because I didn't have. That's why I say I look up to you, man. We didn't have role models. It was either look up to Daddy or Uncle Chip. Chip was drunk and Daddy was.
Yeah.
He'd get out of prison and get sober, and then he'd get out of there.
Yep.
And then so I look up to y'all, like you, like Tiffany, and like the person Tanner was trying to be, and then so that I look up to that. So you spoke a lot about your life, man. You spoke about how things have changed you. Your faith is strong. Oxford House has been a big blessing to you. Oxford House, I know, could be a big blessing to a lot of people. But looking back at your past, if you could go back and hug the old version of you, what would you tell yourself?
I think I just tell myself truly, like, you're going to make it through it. I don't. Because of the purpose I have now, and the life I have now, and all I've gained, I don't want to lose this. I don't want to lose the life I have now. All the things I thought that meant so much to me that I don't have any more relationships, they don't mean anything to me now. I think I just tell myself to hold on. Just get ready for a ride, Yeah. There's, you're going to be loved no matter what. You're gonna make it through this no matter what. I don't think I would change any of it though. I wouldn't warn myself to not do something. I wouldn't. There's maybe hug my grandmothers a few more times. Be a little kinder to certain people. Like there's truth of people I've hurt, that I would love to change. Maybe tell myself to, understand other people's points of views. Not live. I believe, in everyone having their own beliefs. Maybe not take to heart what their beliefs is so much, to where it hurt me to make me angry at them. I think that's what makes us so special today is our differences. But yeah, just get ready for the ride,
Man.
because it's going to get better. I don't have more than a few weeks, of extra money in my bank account. I'm not rich. But man, I've gained something in recovery. I've gained a spiritual aspect of it. I've gained friendships that are just unbreakable and unmatchable. I've never had them before, nothing like this. And I don't think I would ever be willing to give that up.
Amazing. So the type of support being around you, it keeps you whole. But I got to ask the one question I ask everybody that comes on the podcast, because it varies from each person. I know with me, it played a big part on it. I've heard people tell me it didn't play a single part in it at all. But I feel like I kind of know the answer to this one as well. But do you believe God made an impact on your life and the person you are today?
Oh, absolutely. You know, that I'm so much in love with the God that was instilled in me as a kid. I am. But that God is the God that I took from sermons with my grandpa. You know, he's still the same God. But I experienced his love in ways that other people haven't. You know, I experienced, like the first question they asked me before I went to AA, am I willing to have a new experience? I have a new experience with God every day. But when people were calling me and telling me that I'm helping them, or when people were going into treatment after I've talked to them, or when my brother's saying, you know, I went to my first AA meeting, like God's working. You know, that's the work of God. I know what addiction is. And I don't want God to scare anyone away. Like there's people who don't believe in God, and that's okay. You know, that's absolutely okay. Hopefully one day you will. You know, hopefully you will have an understanding. You know, for me, you know, I hope that Jesus is your Savior, but I don't hate anyone who doesn't have that. I love them as I'm supposed to. I don't hate a Muslim. I don't hate you know, a Buddhist. But in my life, God is allowing me to love all these people. My salvation is allowing me to be around all these people, and to still know that, you know, I'm still secure. You know, and I don't pity them. You know, hopefully, you know, one day God will say, all right, open up heaven, and here's your neighbors. You know, like here's the Buddhist. You know, this is the people that, you know, didn't believe the way you did. I just feel like that's what Jesus told me to do, you know, and he keeps showing me every day, like the people that I'm around are not God-fearing people. Not all of them. Now, of course, I go to church. My best friend is not, you know, she believes in heaven because she wants her mother to be there. That's that she believes in her mother's heaven. But this woman's changing lives. So, you know, it's like, I don't know. I know the Bible gives a clear depiction of what's going to happen. But, you know, we serve a God of so much who, you know, he made all of this. I believe he's made a whole alternate truth to it. You know, I want to believe that. I'm not going to have a closed-minded truth to it. And sometimes I feel like certain messages, certain scriptures can be construed to a point of confining people in a way that we're not supposed to be confound. You know, I think recovery's given me this. Like I don't fear where I'm going when I die. I don't fear that. If I died today, I would die ready to speak for myself at the gates. Do I think he's going to let me in? Well, that's judgment. I won't know until I get there. You know, like it's, please.
Man.
But I'm gonna walk with the people who need help. And God's gonna be there with me.
Maybe all right. Stay. There we go.
Oh.
Stay. I'll just give you your phone back here in a minute.
I just want to make sure I'm doing it.
We want you to sketch them, draw them.
She does paint. That's
Do
her.
you?
Oh,
Nice.
so next time we come back,
Oh, yeah.
you could paint them.
Can you have a door hanger on your door?
Yeah, we can have it. Like, look, we love that. So the little giraffe right there, we donated $500 to a lady who was going to Africa on a mission trip. So she brought us that back.
Yeah.
Is that like a real African, like,
Yeah.
I don't want to sign over. I'm going to have to look at that for you.
Yeah.
That's dope.
And then, like, little thank you card.
That's so
Yeah.
fire.
So I mean, like, we have enough money in the house. Like we just donated $250 to my church. So like as a house, that's, you know, we try to give back to the community.
I love that, dude.
So like the church has helped pay for a few people's first week's rent. So, you know, to give back to them.
Dude, that is amazing.
Yeah.
I love you. Y'all are the amazing. Y'all are the best. Like it's just a different perspective on recovery.
Yeah, I mean, it can,
It's so positive. Like I haven't met even last night. That's why when you hear you're gonna bring out the recovery group. Like with us, we have a lot of people in our program are not from like serious recovery. They're from like old school recovery. Like they used to smoke weed, now they stopped. Or, they were addicted to pain pills because they were in the hospital and then they stopped. Like they're 30, 40 years clean. So we bring in them and they're always happy. But the ones that like are fresh in the program, they always seem so sad. I have not met a single one of your friends that are doom and gloom.
I mean, it's the first few months for anyone, but like, I mean, he's 4 months clean. Like it's.
And he seems positive.
And he really is. It's the atmosphere. But these people are just coming to your group once a week. Mm-hmm. Like here, people are living in recovery.
Yep.
So it's if they're down, we're gonna find out why. And if they're not telling us why, then we're probably gonna do a drug test because your behavior's changed. Yep. And if you pass that, then we're gonna watch you and probably put you on a behavior contract because your behaviors have changed. Mm-hmm. And if your behaviors don't change, like the first 30 days is the initial time of us getting to know the person. Right. So if you last that 30 days, then you get more freedom. But if your grandma died, you need to tell us your grandma died so that we know.
You're not just in there sad and crying.
And we also know how to support you. Mm-hmm. So I mean, there's constant support.
That is amazing.
Like I come home from work and I go into my bedroom. Like I leave the door open. Mm-hmm. But if I came home from work and I'm watching TV and sleeping on the couch, the next morning, someone better ask me what the fuck's up. Like, because I don't do that.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's simple things.
I love that.
Yeah.
Because you're surrounded by people. And
you become a family.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Testimony Podcast. I hope you all enjoyed the testimony. I know I did. It means a lot to me because it's coming from somebody who is near to me, but it's somebody that, if you didn't know, I don't think we mentioned the last name. He is my cousin. He is a part of the family, but it's a completely different perspective. So his testimony was over a place that he's lived in his life. It's over places that he's lived in his life that have carried him to where he is now. And a lot of people that go through addiction assume they can't make it out of the place that they're in. And I know he's my family, but the environment that he's in, the people he's around, the recovery group that he is a part of it's something different. It is something that I feel like can open a lot of people's eyes to this. Recovery isn't just about going to an AA or NA. It's about getting better in yourself. And it takes the effort that you put in. You can't have anybody do your recovery for you. That's not going to work for, I know it didn't work for me, but for this place that he's in, it's a different outlook on it. I have not met a single person that's a part of this recovery that has a down outlook on their life. Everybody I've met through him has been all positive. It's been absolutely amazing. I'll let him talk more about the program that he's in. But if you don't mind, go ahead and introduce yourself, man.
Hey, I'm Tyler. Lloyd, family. Glad to be here with my cousin. Sobriety date is September 11th of 2022. Recently celebrated 3 years.
Let's go.
It's something I didn't think that could happen is happening. So every day waking up is a blessing, knowing that I'm not drinking or drugging.
So we heard a lot about his testimony and a few things that kind of stuck with me, not just about his addiction, but about our family. So I've never got to hear the stories of their side of the family. It's always been ours on the northeastern side of Arkansas, and it's nice to actually be able to hear stories from the family that I never thought I would get to hear. So I didn't know any of the people in his life. I didn't get to meet a lot of them. I met a few of them when I was a kid, but I didn't get to know a lot of them. And with him talking about Grandma Rose and her husband and all that, it opened a few questions to me that I wanted to ask. So we talked about recovery. We talked a lot about your life, but I did take a note on one of the things. You talked about fishing a little bit, and I seen your eyes light up. So can you tell me one of the stories of you and your granddad fishing that you can remember that just turns your heart inside out?
So my grandpa was a commercial fisherman. So we lived on Old Town Lake, beautiful, cypress-filled lake, catfish, buffalo, crappie, brim. I think the best story would be we went to the Mississippi River The water was up, so he was fishing in the wood area. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I was young, and I'm talking. We're catching 80-pound catfish. The catfish that could almost pull me over. And I guess my grandma knew kind of what it was about. But when we got home, she lost it. She was mad at my grandpa. Like,
No.
just because I don't think she knew I went with him. Grandma was always super nervous about my grandpa fishing. He's out there on the water, but he had done it their entire life. And it was,
Man.
I think that's probably one of the best memories because I'd never seen catfish so big. I think there's a picture somewhere where the catfish is literally as big as me.
So, I don't know if y'all can tell on camera. We are not huge. I am a whole 5'8", so I understand why she was worried about him out there fishing with an 80-pound catfish.
As big as me back then.
Right.
I think I weigh a little bit more than the catfish now. But 80 to 100-pound catfish, which he would sell them at the market. It was just, it was, I think, the most intense time. But it's fishing on Old Town Lake is like a spiritual experience. It's so calm. There's not lots of people around. The cypress trees are absolutely beautiful. If you live in the Delta, you know what they looks like. After my grandpa died, I still felt like I'm fishing with him. So when I'd be out in the lake, I would do things talking to myself the whole time. This was what, this is how you do it because this is how Pebble taught you.
Mm-hmm.
So even now, if I got back on the lake, I'm still fishing with my grandpa. Whether he might not be there in person, but he's there.
It's the memories that carry you along.
Absolutely,
man.
Absolutely.
I love that. That's why I don't know if y'all will know, because I'm not sure when I'll be posting this. I want to say, I'll restart, because I'm pretty sure it's going to take me a little longer to edit. I wanted to make this the Thanksgiving episode, because it's all family. I think it's a great Thanksgiving episode. So I don't know if y'all know, but we're making this a little bit more family oriented just because of the Thanksgiving episode. But I do want to make sure that we're not taking away anything from the recovery. So a lot of this that we talk about on the podcast section is going to be pre-addiction or pre-recovery. So we'll mention a lot of the childhood. We'll talk about a lot of the good times. And then we'll kind of transition into what I'd never even thought was possible for recovery. So coming into Mobile, I had an outlook on recovery of the way we got to see it in our programs around our area. And then you come into a place like this and it changes your entire perspective on the way people can recover. It's been more than eye-opening to me. I feel like that. I hope that we can take something like this back to Arkansas and make a difference in these people's lives, because I know it's making a difference here in Mobile, and especially around the nation with everything that Oxford House is doing. But we talked about fishing a little bit. Now I gotta ask, do you have any crazy Thanksgiving memories of our family?
I think just the food.
The food.
I'm from, Pentecostal background. The churches had cookbooks, or grandparents had cookbooks, and there was always the underlining talking. They wouldn't say it to each other, but they would say it to others. Whose dressing's better than whose.
Mm-hmm.
And it's. I think I took both the recipes. I think I know what I think I know what the grandparents, the grandmas. I think I know the flavor in both of them, and I think now I've combined them together. So to squash the Thanksgiving challenges.
I'm gonna have to try it. I'm gonna. So what he's saying. So the grandma I grew up with had her own cookbook, and she could cook anything the way that she wanted to. And I say that the way she wanted to, because it was always cooked with Mama Joyce's recipe. And I had only heard about these recipes through her. And after talking to Tyler, I think she's gotten a lot of her recipes from.
So I don't think it's a lot of them, but Mama Joyce and Grandma Rose, they cooked a lot to my early childhood because they would cook at the church. The Church of God and Elaine and Helena were very close. They would mingle. The people would go back and forth. So that's where the feud started. It started in the Church of God.
I have better dressing.
Definitely.
So and there's something I've been searching for since Mama Joyce passed away, which is this chocolate cake that I'm hopefully have found the answer to.
My mom has the recipe.
My life has been changed, guys. I've talked about this chocolate cake, and shout out to my wife's mom for the effort that she's put into multiple cakes to try to do this. But it's not it. I'm sorry.
We've got to get you connected to my mom.
Yes.
Because mom does have lots of that's what our family did. They cooked, and the mom has a lot of the recipes of Mom and Joyce's.
I think it's Billy. Hello, sir.
You ruin everything.
It's okay. It's like so. I'm used to it. So Tyler, man, tell me what you're most grateful for. After the people hear your testimony, after the people have heard us talk about the family, what is something that today you are most grateful for?
I'm most grateful for my relationship with my higher power. I feel like that's what's literally giving me the life I have now. So that encompasses so many things. It's the relationships I have with my family now that I lost, the new relationships I've gained, in the Oxford House and in the recovery community of Alabama. Without God and without an understanding of God that, has brought me through addiction, I wouldn't have it all. So definitely God.
You got to have faith. I will say, and we spoke about it. Oh, in different recoveries, they always talk about trying to find a higher power. So with me, mine was my faith. Our granddad was Pentecostal preacher. So we've been raised around faith, raised around church, raised around religion in itself. But the one thing that sticks out to me, and we kind of talked about it a little bit the other day, is, and I'm not saying you don't need a church. I'm actually, like they say it a lot of times at our church, they're not church pirates. I'm a church pirate. I love our church. If you want to come to Pathway, please come to Pathway. It's an amazing church. But the way we look at it is a higher power, in a sense, doesn't have to be directly correlated to a church or your faith. You explain it the way you explain it to me.
So, for someone who's new coming into the program, so if you're working the program of AA, there is the chapter of the agnostics, but they do want you to have a higher power. That's what you have to trust in that. So I was in a meeting in DC, and it's old lady. She's old. She was sitting there, and we were talking about the higher power. And she said, when she first came into the program, her higher power was the IRS. And I was like, like she didn't have a belief in God. It hadn't blossomed into that. In recovery, you have to meet people where they're at. Mm-hmm. Well, so she was there. The IRS was after her. She had to stop drinking to get her life under control. And then her higher power blossomed from that. But, if jail, the idea of jail is your higher power, that is a higher power. If losing your kids is the higher power, that's a great start. Like, start where you're at. Mm-hmm. Gain recovery, if that's what's going to get you to the years of sobriety. In sobriety, we really just care about the day. Like, I might have 3 years of sobriety, but really I only have today. Because tomorrow I could drink or I could use. But for today, I'm not. And so what's going to get me through this day? Well, if it's the IRS, great. Once you get that handled, well, then you're just going to open up to another higher power. As long as you have that idea that, there's something greater than me is in control. Mm-hmm. That's what you have to have. It's me left to myself. I know what I did. Man. God's in control of my life. That is my higher power. But it was eye-opening to me. I was like, oh, wow. Man. I could, because you see those people who come into recovery or come into AA, and that's their hiccup. That's their I get it, I'm cool with the steps, but the whole higher power. Well, then find something you can believe in, mm-hmm. and with no judgment. Good for you. I'm glad you found that, and then let it blossom into whatever it becomes.
Oh, absolutely. It makes a difference whenever you're focusing on something that's bigger than you. I mean, if you look at it like the IRS, that when he first told me the story, the IRS thing really threw me off because how can you think the IRS is a higher power? But when you look at it, you got to pay taxes. You do have to follow rules by the IRS that correlate your life throughout the year.
Or judgment's going to come down.
Brother, gosh, and like until hearing him say that, I thought the exact same thing most people that step into these programs probably think when you hear higher power, like Christianity or God or Buddhism or a series of higher powers that are different, completely different than what really needs to be done. So like with him saying it, you just have to have something that's above you. For me, I thought God is my higher power now, like always has been the root of it. But coming out of my addiction, my wife's family was my higher power. They were the ones that I was trying to, if I could make sure that they saw me as the person that they see me as still. When I first told them about my addiction, I wanted them still to see me as this person they saw potential in. But I was doing everything to live by their standards, and I was growing. I was learning to build myself up, but I was going off of the higher power of them. And until actually talking to my cousin about it, I'm right at now, since 2020, right after Papa passed away, it puts me at January, February, March, 5 years sobriety for me. And with that, I've never thought about it that way. Had I looked at it like that, I feel like my journey would have been, I won't say easier because everybody's journey is completely different. It may seem easier, it may seem harder, but to me, I feel like mine would have been easier had I been looking at my wife's family as if they were my higher power at the time, because I'm not just trying to make myself better. I'm not trying to live better myself every day. I'm also trying to be a better person for them. I'm also trying to be a better person for the people around me. And at the time, my higher power was God. I was in church. But coming out of my addiction, I was a complete atheist. I didn't believe in anything. I was, like, I think y'all heard me mention on the last podcast, but I felt like I was forced into church because our granddad was a pastor. If it's Sunday morning, you got to get up and go to church, get dressed. If it's Wednesday night, we're not having kids service, but you're going to come sit with the adults, get dressed, we're going to church. So I had that resentment because I was always forced into it. And with me holding that resentment so high all throughout my life, had I realized that my higher power didn't just have to be my faith in God or a creator, my higher power could have been somebody like my wife's family, or my higher power could have been just reaching out to my family and just seeing where they're at. And if they're doing better than me, keep them as my higher power. Just build my standards up compared to what it was. So that way I'm not just having to believe in them or just having to have my belief in God carry me through it. I could finally believe in myself. And that's part of the reason why I wanted you on the podcast, man. I'm seeing potential in somebody that doesn't just see faith in the people around them. I literally see you having the faith in yourself now. You're surrounded by people that are amazing. Like he's not on camera, but I got to meet one of his friends last night. He's in a group of people that are supporting him no matter what, all different walks of life. There's a lady that they work around that travels the nation going to these different recovery houses, and he's willingly put himself in those situations to be around these people that are trying to do better. He's not running away from it. He's not looking to distance himself from his higher power. He knows where he needs to be at, and he's walking through it every day. Dude, I love that for you. I don't want to talk him up too much because he's my cousin. But man, I watched our family fall apart, and until this week, I thought it was a lost cause. Getting to come here and see you, and at first I was skeptical about it because I didn't know what I was walking into. The last time I'd seen you, it could have been like going to see my sister again. I never knew.
Yeah.
And then I walk into this place, and it wasn't just love because he's my family, but it was love because he knows where we came from.
Yeah.
And it's a different feeling to be able to have a Thanksgiving again. We haven't had a good Thanksgiving since our granddad passed away, and I feel like it's starting to piece back together. But it's because of the things he's doing in his life. It's because of the things I'm doing in my life. It's because of the way the family's moving.
Definitely.
And I feel like one of these days, whether we all drive down to Mobile or if we all meet up at Tiffany's house,
We're going to do this again.
we're going to have an actual Thanksgiving again, to where we have a Lloyd Thanksgiving. And had it not been for recovery, had it not been for places like Oxford House, none of this would be possible. Had it not been for Tyler taking the steps on his own to become the better version of himself that he knew he could be, none of this would be possible. But that's what it takes. Like I mention the free will thing all the time, but God gave us all the ability to make a choice. If you don't make the choice to be better today than you were yesterday, you're only hurting yourself at that moment. Now, when you actually think about it, you're hurting everybody around you too. You're slowing their process down because you're slowing your process down. If they're wanting you to get better and you're not getting better, you're not only hurting yourself, you're hurting everybody.
Definitely.
And I'm watching somebody. Y'all will get to see more of him. He wants me to come back. I'm trying to make this a very often thing. I have a co-host, but if you don't mind, I would love for you to be on a lot more episodes.
Definitely.
It would be fantastic. It's a different perspective. We're around recovery where it's a lot of people still coming out of addiction and not knowing where those next steps are coming from. Here in Mobile, these are people that are coming out of addiction, and it's not that they don't know where the steps are coming from. They have a support group that have been through these steps that can help them, walk them, guide them through every step of the way, and help them become a better version.
Peer support, people engaged in recovery.
Man,
Like,
y'all are amazing. Like, even coming into this house, so like, I don't want to explain it because I'm not 100% knowledgeable about it. But if you don't mind, explain a little bit of what Oxford is.
So in Oxford House, it's just a group of men or women who are living together with the common goal of not using or drinking. There's certain guidelines and rules to coming in. Once you hit the door, there's no using, there's no drinking. I don't care if you used the day before or 10 hours or 10 minutes before. But once you come on property, you're now living a new life. So the first 30 days of coming into a house, there's different rules so that the house gets to know you. It's ran democratically, so each one has a position in the house: treasurer, comptroller, president, coordinator, HSC, which is for the Oxford House as a whole. Someone goes to that meeting to bring back information to the house on just what's going on in Oxford House in your area. So it's teaching you how to do your bills, how to budget, how to keep a clean house. During the meetings, you do a check-in so that you tell people how your week's going, so that the guys in the house know, or girls in the house, wherever you're living, they know what's going on with you. If you're coming into a house and you come to your house and you're acting all upset, or you're very quiet, or you're staying in your room, well, it's my job as your housemate to find out what's wrong, because addiction is a demon. If someone's grandmother just passed away, we need to know so we can be supportive of that. Exactly. And Oxford House makes it so simple to do that. I mean, you're literally a family. So it's not like you're bothering somebody by knocking on their door and going in their room. It's like your brother's coming in your room wanting to check on you. Yeah. And it works well. It's not for everyone. There's some people who have the idea of recovery and they want it, but Oxford House may not be for them yet. They might need a treatment program. So we can either be the first step for you, or we can be the second step. But either way, we're going to be here for them. Each house, is strategically located in neighborhoods to where you can prosper. It's not the crack house in that old neighborhood you used to live in. It's not the trap house you have to go to. You're going to be, if you don't have a car, you're going to be near a bus, or you're going to be near businesses so that you can go and get a job. You don't have to have a great job. Your rent's $20 a day. Man. It's $140 a week. It's $560 a month. That's all your bills. So, it gives you the opportunity to build your life back when you don't have anything. Mm-hmm. We're not demanding money when you walk in the door. We're going to come in and give you 3 weeks, of you hitting the ground running, and we're going to give you a leadway so that you can build it back up. I mean, there's people who come off the streets who have absolutely nothing. They have no family, they have no money, they have no ID, they have no social security card, they have no job. So, it takes the house willing to help these people. I mean, if you don't have your driver's license, social security card, you can't start over. But we have the resources. We know how to do it because we've done it. Mm-hmm. Like, I had to do it. Man. I know others in the house had to do it. So it's the simplest things in life that we take for granted, that people who have been in active addiction, they don't have it. And so we just have to be willing. And if we're willing, then we're able to change lives. Oh, absolutely. And that's all Oxford House is it's a willing organization to change lives, all around the world. That's great. From the outside perspective, and this is why I encourage, if you don't know about recovery, and you just, that's the thing. A lot of people assume they know about recovery. I'm in a recovery program. We help lead, and I assume I know about recovery. But when you hear about Oxford House, or you hear about programs like this, where they're putting these people in a house. I think it's, 6 to a house? 6, 7, depending on where you live. There's houses in other parts of the states or in other part of this state and other states that have 14, 15. people to the house. Ideally, though, you only want 6 to 7 members because there's only 7 positions. So you want everyone to be able to actively working within the house. They have to hold a position. The positions change out so often, but oxfordvacancies.com.
Nice.
You can get in, look up any state. I mean, if I wanted to get an Oxford house in Hawaii, I could go to Hawaii. Doesn't mean that there's vacancies yet. Like that's the whole purpose of Oxford House, opening houses nonstop. I've been here for over 2 years. I don't plan on leaving anytime soon. So there's not going to be beds available for the new person if we're not opening up more and more houses. Right. So there's constantly houses opening. Some states have more than others, but you can find each state at oxfordvacancies.com.
So I will make sure, I'll put it in the description. I'll try to make a QR code. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that they're a sponsor of this video because I haven't reached out to them. They haven't reached out to me. I've saw this program through Tyler, and it has been
solely through me.
Solely through Tyler. And to me, it makes me wonder. And I mean that in the best possible way because I had a different outlook. So like when I heard about it, like I even asked them, I was like, y'all are buying these houses or y'all buying like cheap houses to put people in? Because that's what most people would assume when you say you're buying a house to put recovering addicts in, is to buy the cheapest house and then fix it up and have them renovate it from the inside out.
I'll talk on that a little bit. So the cool thing is Oxford House does not own any of the houses. Oxford House works with local landlords or investors who have been enlightened by, like you have, people who see the need for recovery, who want to be of service, want to help. They are financially able to. It's an investment opportunity for them also. But Vanessa's job is to make sure when we're finding these houses that the rent, is not jacked up too high. Mm-hmm. So like as long as it works out with the numbers, there's investors from all over the world who are willing to buy these houses and who own multiple houses. So it's also an investment opportunity for anyone out there who wants to help in recovery and doesn't know how to do it. It can be simply as investing in a house in your neighborhood. I love Oxford House. I absolutely love them. But you can do this, with your own time in your own house. It's doable. So I think the more houses, the more people willing. It's in areas like Mississippi County. It only takes one. And it's not, if you follow the simple guidelines of the rules, pay your fair share of your rent. Don't use or drink. Keep the house clean. Love your neighbor, which your brother or your sister. It can work anywhere.
Man, it just takes the effort. It just takes the effort. But until you actually step into recovery, or until you willingly take the steps to learn about recovery, we never know these things. I'm literally in a recovery program where we're trying to help these people, and I had never heard of a program such as Oxford House. I didn't think anything like this was possible, but then you get to see it. Even pulling into this driveway, I asked my wife, are we in the right spot? Because this is a gorgeous spot. It's a gorgeous place to be. But they're making sure that these people are not hitting the ground and stuck. They hit the ground running, full speed. They're able to make a difference a lot sooner than they ever thought. And to me, that makes a bigger difference on them mentally and emotionally. So like you have these people in the house, like I tell Tyler all the time, but since I've seen this, it means so much more to me to see that there's more support. It's not like he's in in a house where it's just a group of men where they all distance themselves from each other. Like he said, he has to hold each other person accountable for what's going on. So if he sees somebody sad, he's going to reach out to him. If somebody sees him sad, they're going to ask him what's going on. And a lot of the times, all you need is that support. But if you're in a place like this and you have that support and you have the assets, you have somebody that's willing to be able to help you get a social security card, your ID, everything back and get your life started again, it's helping you get your life started in a way that a lot of people that have a functioning life don't even have it played out for them that way. So like with me, I feel like I got things going for me, but I'm always in a rut with something, whether it's work or bills or something. I'm always trying to climb out of a hole. And then I go to my support group at the church and they're able to help me in every way possible. But when you first come out of addiction, when you first step into that environment of, I want to be better than me, I want to be better than the person I was yesterday, I want to be better than the person that I see myself as, it's hard to do that strictly on your own. And that's why the higher power thing means a lot to me too, but something that I hold a lot of weight on and something that I know is big in recovery that a lot of people are scared to give is support. It's support. And whether that support is financial, that's a big blessing to any program. If you want to financially support them, just benefit, donate, whatever, that's amazing. but just reaching out to that person who you see is hurting and just saying, hey man, I'm here for you. What's going on? That means the world more. I promise that made me more to them than any money you could donate, because you don't know when the last time somebody asked them what was going on.
No,
A lot of the times I was dealing with stuff, my wife would ask, and because I'm a man and everything's got to be locked away, I'm good, I'm fine. But those words, I'm fine, suck. I'm fine absolutely sucks, because I can say that 1,000 times and every time I could be lying to you. And you're just going to brush it off because, like I said, I'm fine. And it's different. So you come into a place like this, getting just the people getting to hear your testimony, the people getting to hear about Oxford House. What is, I don't want to word this. What is one thing you want the people to take away from from this entire experience, from your testimony all the way to Oxford House? What's the one thing you want the people to take away from it?
Whether you're in recovery or you're not in recovery, recovery is possible for people. So if you're the person who's in active addiction, it's possible. I was just looking up, there are Oxford Houses in Arkansas, so oxfordvacancies.com. There are a few. There's not many. Hopefully we can get more there. But reach out to your resources. If you're in a rural area like we are from, reach out to your doctor. Reach out. I mean, there are some kind of resources where you can start. It might not be as good as Mobile or as big as Memphis, but tell someone what you're going through. Tell a preacher, tell a friend, tell a parent. Don't hide it. The addiction only gets worse. But if you're not in active addiction, and you see someone struggling, you can say, I don't know how to help you, but I'm praying for you. I don't know how to help you, but I care. It doesn't mean that you have to be active in their life, but instead of just missing people and acting like they're less than you or they're a burden to you, just be honest. I don't know how to help you,
Exactly.
but I care.
Exactly.
And I think we can go a long ways if we just do that.